Welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. We are your co-hosts. I'm Brian.
And I'm Robin Joy.
And this is Coach's Corner.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Good to see you again.
How's it going? You look a little bundled up here.
It's just all of a sudden got cold here in Denver. It's a cold day.
We got the fall descended upon us this weekend.
All of a sudden.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we kind of knew it was coming, but it got here today.
Mm-hmm. Sweater weather, as it were, at least for a few days. And then it's back into the 80s.
Yeah, it's just teasing us, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what usually happens.
All right, so what do you got going on this week, Brian?
Well, I got a question from a coaching student this last week, and they're asking me, how do I know when I'm finally done with this? Like, how do I know when I've got it figured out and that I don't have to keep tweaking my processes and all this stuff, and I can just let it sort of run on autopilot?
Yeah. Here's the thing. That's a common question, and I get the feeling. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. It's called continuous improvement. Mm-hmm. It's not called continuous, I got it right the first time. Right? I mean, Why would we need improvement if we got it right the first time?
Well, I think we're assuming that all of us do some continuous improvement in that situation. Mm-hmm. And I think that is 100% true, at least for us in our journey. And it is a journey, by the way, not a destination, right?
Well, that's key there, right? Yeah. It's not a destination. You're not going to get it done. Uh-huh. When it's done, you're done.
You can achieve some milestones like, 5 figures a month, 7 figures a year. And
that's usually what they're actually talking about.
Yeah, that's what I think so too, yeah. There's also we talk a lot about like a plateau that you would build up to, but even that requires some maintenance, right? Right. And maintenance, it doesn't imply
and continually improving and adjusting maintenance because of outside factors, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Right.
At the end of the day, I think perfection or perfect doesn't exist.
And everybody would probably agree with us there.
And isn't that kind of the point?
Yeah.
I mean, if it was, it wouldn't be called, it's called continuous improvement, not continuous perfection. If it was perfection, you would never change anything.
You wouldn't need to improve. Right.
And there's nothing. I mean, I'm sure people would argue there are some perfect things, in the world. Maybe a tree is perfect just because that's the way it was made. You're perfect because that's the way
this is a philosophical discussion. What does it have to do with the people? What do people want from us?
Well, it's never done. It's never perfect, right? Mm-hmm. We're always tweaking on it. And primarily because there are things that are, which we'll get into later, outside of our control. Right?
Oh, yeah. Many, many things outside of our control.
But just in case.
My employee called in sick today. My contractor went out of business.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I mean, so many things.
Yeah. Just in case you do have a perfect business, please 911 us right now, because we need to have you on the podcast because we want to interview you.
Yes. I want to talk to the people who have a perfect business and there's nothing to improve. Uh-huh. I want to talk to you. Yes. Yeah. Let us know right away.
Yeah. You wouldn't need improvements if everything was already perfect, right?
Yes. Obviously. Yes.
But things are not perfect, and that's okay.
And that's okay. And that's where we need to be. It's okay that it's not perfect. It's normal that it's not perfect. I have something I can do about that. I can continually improve.
What would be interesting about it if it were perfect? Isn't it like when we see like actors or people on the stage or on the television, and you see them, that some of them have really interesting faces. Right?
Yes.
Most of them do. In fact,
some
distinguishing
faces.
features that are like, okay, that's not perfect.
No.
But it's also not bad. It's interesting. It has me looking. It has me, right? I mean,
that's the thing that distinguishes it, gets your attention, and allows you to describe.
Yes.
Distinguish it from everything else.
Right. Well, the business is kind of the same way. Like, you want it to be interesting. You want to be able to be engaged with it. You hopefully are passionate about it. And where's your passion going to go if there's never anything to, to fool with?
Right. Right. That becomes less enticing to me. Much less enticing.
But I think the flip side of this is where, if you're like a lot of people I know, ask me how I know, guilty as described here, or as I'm about to describe, that when it's not perfect, you somehow sort of beat yourself up over that.
Yeah. It's not It's strive for continual improvement, not strive to find a mistake that you can beat yourself up about.
Well, yeah, that's a good way to say it. Yeah.
But yeah, you need to drop the guilt. Drop the guilt. It's nothing to, if you have something that's messy, that just proves you're in motion. As long as you're pushing those boundaries, it's going to be messy. That's part of the deal.
I would say be guilty if you don't have anything to clean. Right. Then you're like, okay.
Right.
I can just go about my merry way, and everybody else is working their butts off.
Well, this is what we have kind of coined between us, the fixing up the nest, right?
Oh yes,
yeah.
We do see that a lot of time. What are you?
Pretty the nest up.
Prettying up the nest. What do you mean by that? What do we mean by that?
So we see a lot of people who find some success and they accomplish some progress, and then before they are really where they can let go of the intense focused effort, they're still in that intense focused effort period. They all of a sudden stop and say, okay, wait. It comes out of fear a lot of times. I'm afraid this is going to get away from me. I need to clean this all up. Let's make a pretty spreadsheet. Let's make buttons out of that thing that we used to do data entry. And this is not the time to, you need to do that when you get off the ground, right?
Yeah.
And in the middle of that intense focused effort, all it does is increase the time for the intense focused effort. And, we've seen it a lot of times where people have these elaborate spreadsheets where they're keeping all this data and they know everything about every ASIN that they've ever touched. And it becomes such a burden to fill this out that they never go back to it. They wasted all their time because it doesn't get done and it doesn't give them what they wanted.
I think you had, it turned out to be a resource in the book, Path. I don't have a copy in my, right here. Darn it. Well, I was so unprepared. This
right around the corner.
3-step check and 4-week test worksheet that you put together.
Yes.
And it collects like the simplest stuff. Least amount of
information. It is
possible.
Not high tech in any way.
But I remember you saying you had a session with one of the coaching clients and they had gone on this is part in the book actually, had gone on to add like 27 columns to that spreadsheet because they wanted to track all this information. And then what happens is the amount of work required to not only put that information in when you're just trying to capture a viable ASIN, which really, what do you need with a viable ASIN?
You need a compliant listing with an authorized source.
And the link for the source. That's it, right?
You need a link for the source. All you need to create a viable ASIN.
Yeah. So we don't need
to identify
39 columns to figure that out.
Right.
We need the ASIN number. We need the link to the source, and we kind of need the cost, but we can even get that from off of the link if we need to.
Right. And that's something that can change. So the other thing that it gives us is not just so much trouble trying to fill out this elaborate spreadsheet, but we're trying to capture data that is consistently changing. So even if we did go back to that list, row of data at some point with all that information, we'd have to re-verify it. So why not just verify it when there's no reason to keep all that information.
Two things I want to say about that. One is, this is why solutions like 3P Mercury exist. You don't need to keep track of and update all this stuff. You basically put in the ASIN and the source link, save it to your viable ASIN database, or what they call the buy list, and away you go. That's it.
And I might say that you could say the keep a product viewer also is for that. I can run it through the keep a product
anytime that you want to.
A list of ASINs anytime I want and find out the information I want that's current.
And all you need is the ASIN for that.
Right.
And also 3P Mercury does that in the buy list for you. But if you don't have that application, then the keep a product viewer is perfect for that. The other thing I wanted to say is, if you put all these things in place, that hurdles that you have to jump before you get to the part where you can actually do work, then you're so much less likely to do that. And here's what I mean by that. When I'm working with people who are looking to build their viable ASIN database, and I usually challenge people, like, I would love to see you add 1,000 viable ASINs to your database a week. Okay. well, how can I possibly do that if I have to vet all these things, this thing and that thing and the other thing? And this is what most people say. And I say, you don't do that part up front. You assume that the bulk of the data is good, and then you treat anything that's not as an exception and you kick it out later. Because the last thing you need is to make it harder to get data into your system. You need that to be as easy and streamlined as possible so that you can collect as many as possible. Remember, we're in the game of bulk, of large numbers of viable ASINs today. Right?
I've described this. I'm going to use this illustration. I've used it a couple of times this week. When I was in another life, in another world, very much younger, I sold phone book ads, phone books, like we used to sit on at grandma's house.
Phone books. Oh, yeah.
Where we actually had
the
paper.
Booster seat?
Yeah. The phone book became the booster seat. But people actually used the phone book because we didn't have smartphones and computers and things like that. So it wasn't necessary. I sold ads for the phone book. So you could put your ad in the phone book, and then the customers could look through the phone book for a plumber and find this list of plumbers, and
your ad could be on that page.
Yeah. So the companies pay for that. And that's what I sold. Well, doesn't matter what I sold. Here's how it worked. And anybody who's been in sales knows this is the principle, right? I had to get a lot of phone numbers so I could make a lot of phone calls. I didn't grab all those phone numbers and see which ones were disconnected before I started.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? I didn't check which ones would answer the phone or were the wrong number or an old number before I called, before I started my calling process, because that's going to reveal itself in the calling process. And I just throw it out when it happens.
Yep.
Right? So that's the first part of that. And of course, you have to make a lot of phone calls to get a few appointments. And you got to get a lot of appointments to get in a few sales. So my biggest thing that I did was gather phone numbers.
Yes.
Phone numbers. Make sure that those phone numbers connected to a business, and then move forward. In the process, it reveals itself if that phone number's not good. And I can quickly instead of doing this whole analysis on my whole
phone book
database, of phone numbers.
We were actually kind of talking about this over the weekend too, where people that we're working with, or people who maybe not even that we're working with, but we'll see them post in the Facebook group or whatever. It's like, I just want a replenishable ASIN. Can I just have a replenishable ASIN, please? Well, it doesn't quite work that way, because you have to do.
Can somebody just buy my phone book ad, please?
Yeah, that was the same thing, right? Can I just have sales? I just want sales.
Excuse me, can you tell me which one of these phone numbers is going to be one that gives me an appointment and then buys from me?
Well, this is why we say this business is open to everyone, because it's not that. If it were that, big companies would systematize that. There'd be nothing left, right?
Right. There wouldn't be anything for us to do individually with our sweat equity that we have to get started with.
So while we're not necessarily in sales when we're doing this process of identifying replenishable ASINs, it generates sales. But we are in the process. We do have a funnel that we work through, right?
Right.
And the top of that funnel, we are pouring in viable ASINs. The viable being the known good listing, the known good source, and the link. And then we run it through a process to identify the ones that we should be paying attention to based on characteristics that we choose. Okay, so people who have bought phone book ads before, people who live in my city,
right? I have a good chance of getting in front of them that they value phone book ads.
Yes,
right.
Or they're a brand new business they started this year. There's all kinds of different ways.
Indicators.
Yeah, different indicators that you would apply to that same list of viable ASINs. And then
these are the filters we would probably put in. Keep a product finder.
Yes, keep a product finder.
We're looking
filters
for
are exactly
this
like that.
type of person.
Right. And then we have to call on them, which for us in the sourcing part of the business is evaluating for testability.
Right.
And then every once in a while,
get an appointment.
Yep.
And then we have to go on those appointments to see if they'll buy from us. So we actually have to test the item. We do not know until after the test if we should replenish or not. We have to let the test tell us. I don't know before I go sit in front of that person I made an appointment with, which requires some effort from me in some time. It's going to be next week before I can get in there.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know until the end of that appointment whether they're going to buy an ad from me or not. Just like ASINs, I don't know until the end of that test whether I should replenish it or not. I let the test tell me.
And all of this is, of course, subject to your approach to the business.
Absolutely.
This is our framework. This is how we do it. And this is how we've seen many, many successful people do it.
Yes.
Keep your risk low.
Yeah.
Right? Keep your opportunity for success high.
Exactly. And make sure you have things in place that will help you get out of it if it wasn't a good idea to start with.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we have covered that one.
Okay.
As far as we can do that. The takeaway here is what?
You're not supposed to have it perfect. You're not supposed to have it perfect.
Yeah.
We don't expect perfect.
Yeah.
You shouldn't expect perfect. You're supposed to keep making it better. That's the point. Yeah.
So then you said something earlier that I think we can unpack here for a minute, which is how do I know, how do I just get this done?
Yeah.
How do I get my business done, built, ready to go, right?
Yeah.
It really is.
I would say a foundation is possibly something you want to get done.
I would say, I mentioned earlier, 5 figures a month or 7 figures a year is something that you can get done.
These are milestones.
Yes, but they are milestones.
Yeah.
Yeah, even building.
They're not completions.
100 replenishable ASINs, and just to be clear, when we talk about a path to 100 ASINs in the workshop, we're not talking about viable ASINs. I can get 100 viable ASINs in 5 minutes or less, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about replenishable ASINs. There's a process, that funnel we just talked through, in order to get to your replenishable ASINs.
Yeah, we still have to test a whole lot more than 100 to get it 100 replenishable.
So if there's never a final version of what our business is going to look like, that's pretty much a myth. Why do we keep acting like there's some finish line here?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we should look more about what's our next milestone. Try to accomplish that by testing processes and procedures and seeing what's going to work for us to get us to that line, but not overthinking it. Just give it a try. Does it work or not? Okay, it didn't work. Try something else.
In addition to the things that are outside of your control, the external factors of your business, a lot of times when you fix one thing, you want to intentionally break another.
Yes.
And so
which happens with Amazon's algorithms all the time.
Yeah. So you may be thinking, well, I'm going to do this to improve my profitability, and that has some unintended effect on another part of your business that all of a sudden now it could be obvious.
Something's
like,
exposed
I should have thought of that, and I'll just make this adjustment to dial it in. Or it could be, I had no idea it was going to impact that, and I can't
be doing that. I got to try it a different way. Absolutely. And that's constant, right?
Especially if you're like my friend Dan, when he's driving, he's like, optimum gas mileage. Optimum gas mileage. So, but if he needs to go faster to make something happen, it's such a conundrum because you can press on the gas, it's easy to do, but then that really impacts the gas mileage. It's a whole thing here, right?
I could see Dan doing that too. Sorry, Dan, if you're listening, we love you. You know we do.
Yeah. Well, even if you were perfect, okay, there are things that are going to happen. The marketplace changes, algorithms change, competition changes.
And we have to have a little bit of allowance for that, I think, is helpful. This is why we have ranges. We don't have specific.
Great point. I love that. Yeah. So when we talk about the 7 core competencies, and they're basically 7 areas that you should be proficient in. We believe in our frameworks you should
7
be
things you should be doing every week
in order to keep your business going
and improving.
And that we assign some sort of metric to each one to say, yes, you're within an acceptable operating range.
We don't assign it. You assign it for your own business.
Yeah, I mean, we gave suggestions for what they could be. Yes, you would need to dial that in for your own business, but it's a range. Yeah. It's never a very specific number.
Otherwise, I'm going to be disappointed every week because I can't hit that perfect optimal number.
Yeah.
I missed it by by 10 cents on my spend goal.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Or my sales were, not exactly $10,000 for the week.
It was, $9,999.59.
You typically give yourself a range that is acceptable.
Yeah.
Right? and you live within that range. And if you're out of range, that's when you start making
those
some
are the
adjustments.
ones that you focus on.
Yeah.
Right. And make adjustments, see what works. The more you do that, the more you'll be able to identify which ones need your attention. We could get into pricing, but that's how I feel about pricing too. Pricing doesn't need my attention unless it's not selling at the price I set for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. By the way, I think there's a lot of just maybe go off script on this. I haven't gone off script in a while.
I think I just took you off script. So, okay, let's go.
Do I sense a high horse around here?
I don't know.
No.
Soapbox?
Soapbox.
I don't see one. No.
The whole repricing thing, people get so wrapped around the axle about this. Like, it takes me so long to reprice. This is a good one I hear all the time.
Yeah.
Why does it take me so long to reprice?
Because you're really overthinking it.
Most of the time, it's because they're overthinking it. Most of the time, it's because you're doing more than just adjusting your price. Mm-hmm. You're looking at an ASIN. Now you're sort of you pop the hood, take some pieces and parts out. You're looking in there, finding out how it works. And a lot of times that's good. You need to do this.
Yeah, during testing period, that's when you get a lot of that information. That's part of what testing is for. But once you've decided on a price and you're replenishing, why do you keep doing that?
Well, the other thing is when you're doing that, that's not repricing. That's analyzing an ASIN. So just
of course
make
it's
a clear divide
take a little longer
between your actual repricing activities. And by the way, we're talking about a manual reprice for your product, okay, over the 4-week pricing ladder. And then save the analysis for another part. Like when you're talking about your efficiencies and everything, your repricing just does not take that long. I reprice between 30 and 40 ASINs a week manually.
And that's just your tests.
These are my concurrent running tests. That's
and anything that has changed is not selling for some reason at the price you have set.
Right. Like I may be in week 3 and it hasn't sold yet. So I'm going to, go to the next step on my pricing ladder and I'm going to see if I can get it to catch on there. Right. Mm-hmm. I may be at week 4. I may be at week 5, wherever.
Or you may have been selling it at a certain price for a while. And then all of a sudden it's not pricing anymore. That's when you go in. You don't go into every one of them and see if they need an adjustment.
I'm not looking at
if they're selling, they don't need an adjustment.
That's right. Well, there's also what brought this to mind was the price accordingly conversation that I was just going to say, a price accordingly. But we need to unpack that for a minute.
We are so far off script.
I know.
But this is good stuff. This is important. This is what you get with us.
Pricing accordingly is to maximize profit in your business, not to maximize sales, okay, to maximize profit. Mm-hmm. And I see this so many times where people are like, well, but I can sell this unit 90 times a month. Mm-hmm. What is your profit at 90 times a month versus what is your profit at 9 times a month? Mm-hmm. Is the additional effort to sell 10 times more worth it?
Right.
And it could be. There are plenty of
there are times when it really is.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing that analysis, you might just be doing more work just so you can see those sales coming in. Yeah. And that's not really the point. Yes, that feels good. I mean, who doesn't love that?
It's addictive. It is so addictive.
Yeah.
I mean, we still do that to this day.
And it is a predictor of profit when you have more sales. But I'd like to see those more sales come from more ASINs than from one unit.
In the same way,
one ASIN.
In the same way, it's a predictor of profit. In the same way that viable ASINs are a predictor of replenishable ASINs.
Yes.
Right. You have to have one in order to have the other. Mm-hmm. But you can have profit. I mean, you can have sales without profit.
You can, and you can have more sales with the same amount of profit as fewer sales if you price accordingly.
Yeah.
And many times we're just getting what's on the shelf at Walmart. Mm-hmm. And if they only stock 6 a week and you can only get 6 a week, price accordingly. You still want the profit regardless of how many everybody else is selling. Oh, well, they get to sell more than me because they lowered their price. Mm-hmm. Oh, did you hear that part? Because they lowered their price.
Yeah.
So just don't automatically say selling more is going to give you more profit.
The easiest pricing algorithm that I can think of is the 4-week pricing ladder, and you can simplify that if you would rather do 2 or take a whole different approach.
Sure.
And then repricing based on lack of sales velocity. Mm-hmm. So in other words, I haven't sold anything in 30 days. Okay, I may need to adjust my price on that.
Now I need to look at it and see.
Right?
something's happening.
I haven't sold anything in 30 minutes. I might need to adjust my price. Right. And I've been there. Like I was that person.
Oh my gosh.
Every time I took the dog out.
That's not unusual at all.
I was repricing all of my ASINs because I wasn't, I need that to sell. Like I got to refresh my screen and see the sale.
But now that you're more experienced and you don't have to worry about finding those sales.
Yes.
You feel much more comfortable going, it's selling. I'm not going to worry about it. I know it's at a profit at this price. I don't have to worry about some random issue happening, and all of a sudden I accidentally sold 10 of them for 30 cents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, don't mishear me on this. Like, I just want to be clear. If you've got an ASIN that you make great profit on and you can sell it 50 or 100 times a month, absolutely do that. If you can get it. Just keep your book of business balanced out and diversified so that you're not stuck in the anchor client or anchor ASIN problem that we've talked about before.
Well, and I would balance that comment with make sure it's not that one ASIN is not too much percentage of your capital. If selling 50 of those, losing selling 50 of those would impact your business greatly, then go less than 50 until you have a large enough base to accommodate 50. It's all a matter of balance, like you were saying.
And what happens a lot of times is we see people posting, especially at the first part of the month, which we're in the first part of October right now. Everyone's posting their September numbers, which is
we
awesome.
Love it. Don't stop doing that. Please keep doing that.
But keep in mind, like it's not fair to compare your work in progress to somebody else's highlight reel. Yeah. Right? Your work in progress is your work in progress. Okay? It's the David that you are currently sculpting.
Yes.
You are removing all the pieces of that marble that are not David. And hey, David could be a perfect piece. I mean, we've talked about perfection doesn't exist, but that could be an exception.
Many consider David as perfect as you can get in the
But if you asked
sculpture world,
the artist, he would point out all kinds of flaws you would never see, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Anyway, so just to go back to the whole nesting idea that we were talking about, prettying up the nest.
Yeah.
I don't mind if you do that if you've got nothing but time, but don't do that instead of buying, sourcing, shopping, prepping,
shipping, pricing, replenishing, and business acumen.
And taking care of your business. Like and if you've got time at the end of the week when you're all done with those 7 core, then great. Go make your nest really pretty.
Oh, absolutely. We all need to feel comfortable.
That's right. And we all want to feel good about what we're doing.
And we're all going to take a break and need to just organize some things. Yeah. Absolutely. Put a time limit on it. Yeah. Don't get lost there.
Yeah.
All right.
So continuous improvement means you're always adjusting, okay? That's just part of the game. You're not fixing forever, but you are staying in motion. Oh, yeah. It's not a daily fixer or like a Ford, fix or repair daily. It's not that.
Oh, yeah. You're going to get comments about that.
But it is
He's being facetious.
Yeah. That just reminded me of that.
The old saying.
Yeah, the old saying. And
you're not going to fix it forever, though.
Yeah, right. It's not a forever fixer.
Right. It's staying in motion. Staying in motion. Keeping things going. Yeah. That's why you have to keep adjusting.
Yeah. All right. So, question for you about that.
Okay.
If we are always basically in beta mode with our business, okay, because everything is being improved.
I guess you could see it that way.
If we're never done, right? Like we don't ever get cross the finish line with our business. How do we keep improving without burning out?
Well, I think that one thing that we have to do, Brian, is measure. We've got to have some sort of measurement to see if we've made progress or not. If I don't know what I was shooting for, I don't know whether I got there or not. And if I don't have a way of measuring, I don't know if I was better than last week or worse than last week. So I think that understanding what we need to measure and putting a measurement device in place, that's the first part of that. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. The measuring thing, just to let you know what you even need to pay attention to is important. Because if you've got it set up...
you have to make a decision. What is important for me to pay attention to?
If you've got a range and things are operating within the range, then you don't need to spend time there. Right? So that's one of the ways that you can, not feel like you're living in beta all the time.
Right.
Also,
being better than last week is better than being perfect.
Yeah, or being even as good as last week.
It beats being perfect, simply because perfect is not possible.
Mm-hmm. I would say even being as good as last week, so long as you've made some attempt to make better, is probably fine, right?
Right.
But this idea that if you make a tweak and it doesn't work, or you test an ASIN and it doesn't work, that's some sort of
a stopping
failure.
Point for some reason.
It's not a fail. And even if you do want to put it in the failure column, on that, you're looking to build up as many failures as possible.
Absolutely. I say this all the time. If I told you had to test 1,000 ASINs before you would find one that was replenishable, what's the first thing you would do?
I would find a way to test 1,000 ASINs.
Test as many possible ASINs as I can until I get to the 1,000th one.
This reminds me
it doesn't take that many, but
you know when you lose your keys or your sunglasses or your phone, and then when you find it, it's always the last place you look.
Yep.
And why is it always the last place you look? Because you're not looking anymore after that.
Well, why would you keep looking after you found it? But nobody told you ahead of time, Brian. I know that you can't find your keys. Mm-hmm. And if you will look at 12 places, then in the 13th place, you will find your keys.
Yes.
Then you would say 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Yep.
That's where we want you to be. We want you to assume that you're going to keep testing until you find a replenishable ASIN. And then you're going to keep testing until you find 10 replenishable ASINs. And then you're going to keep testing. And that may be thousands of tests before you get to 100 replenishable ASINs. It could be.
Exactly right.
Probably won't be, but it very well could be.
Do you think Thomas Edison said, I'm going to be willing to test this 52 times, and if I can't find a solution for the light bulb, I'm just going to call it quits? I'm just going to quit.
No, I know he didn't, because he's famous for saying, and I'm assuming he actually said some of these things, but we count on that by saying how Thomas Edison said, I can tell you 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Yeah, and 1,000 ways that don't work.
1,000 ways that don't work, and one way that works. And that saying, if that happened in 100 times, the saying would be, I can tell you 100 ways that don't work and one way that does work.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And this is the...
He went as far as he needed to go, to whether that number is exactly true or not. He tested as many times as he could until he found his keys.
For him, it was always the 1,000th test. It's always the 1,000. It's always in 1,001 because that's how many it took to get there.
When you're finding your keys, you don't say I have to look in certain many places. You say I'm going to look in as many places as I need to until I find my test. You don't say if it's not in the third place I look, I'm going to stop looking and just give up and never drive your car again.
The model of perseverance, the gold standard for perseverance is that Thomas Edison situation. I don't know factually how many he actually did. But he kept going until he found a solution. Mm-hmm.
Just like you're going to keep looking until you find your keys.
Well, and
I'm going to keep testing until I find a replenishable ASIN.
And I'm going to keep looking until I find viable. I'm going to look for however many until I find a viable ASIN. It goes all
the way down the line, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of helping us detach our identity. My identity is not I lost my keys. My identity is who I am that needs a set of keys to drive my car.
I would love to see you become a professional tester. I'm a professional ASIN tester. What do you do? I'm a professional ASIN tester.
Yeah, I would say we are professional ASIN testers.
That's right.
We teach other people to do the same thing.
I called you the master sorcerer.
The master sorcerer.
Yeah, at one time.
You did.
But I like the professional ASIN tester better. That's good. Professional ASIN tester. PAT. Okay. I think another thing you could do here is build in some feedback loops, right? And
this brings me to what do I get out of that testing, even if it didn't give me a replenishable ASIN? I get so many more things.
Yeah. Yes.
Just from doing the test.
Yeah. This is the thing that people, I think, often overlook, and we spend a lot of time talking about it, which is what are the benefits of selling even or testing, even if it doesn't become a replenishable for you. Because
theoretically, every single test is a sale.
That's right.
And what do we get from sales?
We get improved account health score.
We get approved IP. It impacts our IPI score, the sell-through rate.
Your inventory performance index.
We have a chance for customer feedback. Seller
Yes.
feedback. We're telling us we did a good job, showing Amazon we did a good job. We have, the biggest one, and we discount this so much. The biggest one is the experience we get from going through that test.
Yes. You're right. That's feedback in and of itself.
One of the, I was telling you this morning, I think, one of the questions that I ask in Kickstart a couple of times, I think, throughout that class is, what did you learn this week that you thought was different than what you found was true by experimenting?
Ah, that's great.
Yeah, because if we go into it thinking this is a certain way and hearing information from experts and experienced people through that filter, and until we actually sit down and go through the process, so many people go, oh, I didn't realize that it would be this instead of that it would be whatever the case. There, I should get some answers to that question together.
I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear what people are saying. But there's two ways to go about this. One is just the ignorant part of it. Like, I didn't know, and I don't mean ignorant in a negative way. I just like you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Then there's also the belief. The really interesting ones for me are going to be the ones that are the belief ones. Like, well, I always believed it was this way, and I learned that that's actually not true.
Right. And that belief is the filter that we gather information from. So that's why we need to take action and test that belief. It's often not exactly the way you thought it might be.
So at the end of the day, if you're progressing, that's going to compound much faster than perfection ever could.
Yeah, agreed. And remember that action brings clarity, and clarity brings confidence.
That's right.
What you want is confidence. This is what will make you money.
What is it that you know, 100% for sure, you would never question it?
And what is it that you don't, and you need to build that on?
Yeah.
Action is where you start.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, do you have a quote for us today?
I do. This quote today comes to us from, it's football season, so I figured I'd get one in here from Vince Lombardi.
Vince Lombardi.
But so applicable to the topic today. Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence.
Catch it.
We can catch some excellence.
Perfection is not attainable, but we still need to go down the road where perfection is.
We're still pursuing it.
We want to pursue it, right? It goes back to my favorite mentor quote. I'd rather shoot for the moon and hit the side of the barn than shoot for the side of the barn because I thought I couldn't do any better and hit the mud puddle.
Yeah, because you were underselling yourself or your capabilities.
Because I wasn't reaching for what I really wanted because I thought I couldn't get it.
That's, and
still reach for it.
That's a great thing to bring up because we've been talking about perfection doesn't exist. And hopefully this quote from Vince Lombardi brings it home, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't chase it. Right?
Doesn't mean you shouldn't.
You should absolutely set out and say, that's what I want. I want perfection. And just don't guilt yourself. Don't beat yourself up when it doesn't happen. That's just part of the game. You're always striving for it, though.
And don't not strive for it because you're afraid you'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
That is such a motivator or a demotivator. Well, I'll never make perfection, so why even try?
Yeah.
I disagree. You'll get a lot further if you try than if you don't even try.
Yeah.
You might hit the mud puddle.
That's right. All right. Bob and Joy. So what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do when the algorithm changes again? Your best ace in tanks, and you're tempted to scrap the whole thing.
We're going to go test some more ASINs.
Let's go test some more ASINs. Great to see everybody.
Talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks for joining us on today's episode. But we've got a little treat for you before I let you go. So hang around for a couple more minutes. We're going to spend some time with my good friend, Jeff Schick of jeffschick.com. If you've never heard our show before, you may not realize he is our resident expert for all things policy and legal. And once a week or so, we bring him on the show to share some tips and insights about what it's like to have Jeff and his team in your corner as an advocate, helping you for just a few dollars per month on retainer in anything Amazon, eBay, Walmart, e-commerce policy and legal. So what are you seeing lately, Jeff? What do you got for us today?
So what I wanted to talk about today was kind of dissecting, what a suspension is. How does it happen? What's the process look like? What are typical timelines and things like that? Just because there's so many horror stories that people have read that I think a lot of people sometimes don't realize what a suspension actually is. So I just want to kind of talk it through so that people have more of an understanding of what's really happening when they receive that email from Amazon saying, your account is under review, or from Walmart saying the same thing.
Makes sense. Yeah. So I didn't realize there was typical. So talk me through that.
Yeah. So, well, I'd say so. Here, the interesting thing is usually suspensions on Amazon or Walmart start off with what we call a notice period. Mainly that's because states like California have passed e-commerce sellers' bill of rights that require these marketplaces to give adequate notice before terminating accounts. So, except in cases of fraud or other, serious abuse. And so what that means is that, you're usually given a period of time. It could be 72 hours, which is, people will see the quote unquote 72-hour notice. That's the bare minimum required by California law. It could also be 7 days or 14 days. And sometimes the notice period is not defined. It'll say, hey, we're reviewing your account because we have concerns about X, Y, Z. And we'll let you know when our review is complete. But either way, no matter how it goes, it always starts with an email from Amazon saying, or Walmart saying, this is what we're concerned about. And it'll tell you your next steps. And so it's extremely important to read those next steps, but do not immediately take action. So many times sellers will receive the email and I've seen it time and time again where sellers will receive this email, for instance, we use Amazon just to stick with it because it's easier. They'll receive an email from Amazon saying your account is under review. You've got 72 hours. Usually it'll say, how can I speed up this review process? And then it'll say, submit a case through your account health dashboard, or send an email to this specific email address. And that can help with your review process. Well, what happens is I've seen it before. Unfortunately, sellers will get that email. They don't know who to call. They don't call us, and then they just go and they email it right away. I've seen emails such as, for instance, can you please tell me what I did wrong? Unfortunately, when you email Amazon or you open those cases, even if it's something just as simple as telling them, I don't understand this, that's considered an appeal to Amazon. And you've now used your first appeal slot for a failed appeal, because they're going to write back and say, we received your submission, but don't have enough information to resolve your concern at this time. Please review our initial email and submit a new appeal.
Wow.
So,
okay, I didn't realize that. That's new information for me. That counts as your first appeal. It's almost like the genie coming out of the lamp. It's like, I'll give you 3 wishes. It's like, huh? I said 3 wishes, but now you have 2 because that was your first one, asking me to clarify. It's like, wait.
Yeah.
What I do?
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't respond until you've got your attorney present.
You're right.
I love it.
Because what you say can be used against you. So I had one seller one time write back to the email and say, I don't understand this. What does this mean? And they literally, get a response back later. You received your appeal and cannot accept it, because it doesn't meet the criteria. Please, and that was considered a failed first appeal.
Wow.
And it makes it harder because the reps that receive the follow-up appeals will see that you've already been denied once, twice, 3 times, however many times you send those, to be honest, pointless emails.
Right.
Or even like emails I've had sellers say, like they were asked for, a bunch of documentation for brands that they sold. And they write back and say, I'm working on getting this all together, so you should have it by the end of the weekend. Ooh. Again, we can't accept your appeal. You haven't, you didn't. And then the problem is now on Monday, when they submit all those documents, the person's going to look and see that on Friday, Sarah rejected the appeal. And unless they go in and read the notes and see what that actual appeal was, they're just going to see that this is now appeal attempt number 2 and that the first one was a failure. And so they're going to look at it more harshly.
Understood. So don't do it yourself is what I'm hearing. That's kind of the summary here. Don't try to do these things yourself, even if you think you know exactly what you're doing. Run it past a pro.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, especially because for our retainer clients, for instance, if it covers the marketplace suspensions. So if you're on our $99 plan, it covers the marketplace you designate. If you're on any of our 150 or higher plans, it covers all marketplaces. So that way, you get the email from Walmart, you're not there, doing it alone. For instance, because Walmarts are a little bit more structured. They at least usually will have like a 25 to 30 question form to fill out that explains where things went wrong and how you're fixing it. But again, if you don't understand the questions and you kind of just, some of them can be quite technical. Like for instance, one of the questions in the form, and one of the forms they send out sometimes has to do with, what API software are you using? Well, if you don't know what an API is, writing in there that I don't know what this is not the right answer, because you actually might be using API software and you don't actually know it. You just don't know what it means, And so
Right.
and then they hold that against you.
Right. Well, let's talk about Walmart next time. I'd love to dive in a little deeper. We haven't talked about them a whole lot yet. But
Absolutely.
what's your success rate if you had to say, just kind of holding your feet to the fire a little bit? You deal with a lot of suspensions and for different reasons. And I know some of them, it's like, okay, we're dealing with a clown who is just being foolish. If we kind of eliminate those guys who tried to sell counterfeit Nikes, right?
Yeah.
And they knew they were doing it, bought them on Temu or whatever. Like those guys don't deserve to be on any platform. But like the good guys that just make a mistake, right? And a forgivable error kind of thing. What is the reinstatement rate that you guys are seeing?
It's pretty variable, so certain offenses on Amazon are still considered extremely serious. And so, for instance, like counterfeit products, if they're concerned about the supply chain, especially if you're buying from these, buying from other sellers that are pretending to be wholesalers, it's going to make things really challenging.
Unauthorized sources. Yeah, which we drive that home. There's no excuse for that anymore.
So like if you're buying from unauthorized sources, it's going to be a challenge. Or if you provide, materially misleading information to the marketplace, they ask you a simple yes or no question and you put a qualified yes when you should have said no. That's, again, not something that they're willing to overlook in most cases now. But besides, taking out for those cases, for the other types of cases we have, like order defect rates and late shipments, I mean, those ones are still batting about 100%. It's just, the cases I would say on Amazon have definitely gotten more complex. So a lot of stuff we work on now is just a lot more challenging and it's more time consuming through the process. But it's not impossible. It just, in order to get to the finish line, it takes longer. And then for Walmart, they're still trying to figure things out. So we're seeing a lot of basic cases that we would have seen in Amazon in 2018 that we're now seeing on Walmart for the first time. But luckily, we've got our knowledge from how we used to handle it with Amazon, and it usually translates pretty well for Walmart. So
outstanding. Well, let's talk about that next week if you're around. I'd love to dive into Walmart a little bit more and maybe dedicate one of our sessions just to Walmart.
Absolutely. You got it.
Sounds good. Well, for those of you who don't know Jeff and his team, go to jeffschick.com for a few dollars per month, put them on retainer, and then you can run all your legal policy questions past them. And if the worst happens, you've got an advocate in your corner that can help you get back it up in action quickly. So appreciate you, Jeff, man. Let's hang out again next week if you're around.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Bye for now.